Oh, hello. Yes, yes. Come in. Uh, any seat should be fine. Just, you know, sit down. It's probably not suggested to stand up, but who am I to say? Our natural state was standing up, I guess. Well, no, it was on fours and then I was standing up, but it wasn't sitting down. So, I guess do what you want, but I would suggest sitting down. So, I suppose you are here for your interview, aren't you? Well, I figured as much. I wasn't really planning any other sort of meetings today. Well, I will be your interviewer today. I have plenty of questions, but first, let me just ask, what made you want to work with Creatures Beyond, an organization known for, well, let's just say working with some not so safe creatures? Fairly dangerous, in fact. Oh, that's interesting. Just read a lot of folk tales as a child and got inspired. I respect the answer. Now, do you believe you're up to the task to deal with some of the most dangerous creatures that we might have? Say, a Sasquatch enraged, or, oh, I don't know, a Kraken, perhaps? Well, those are just some of the more well known ones. Of course, you do have me there. There are plenty more dangerous ones that are lesser known, but I'm just wondering, do you think you are up to the task? Mm-hmm. Ah. It seems like you are very knowledgeable on the subject already, and that's good to see in a possible future employee. Yes, it really does depend on the teams you have. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. Well, anyways. So, first, let me get to the questions. The more important questions. Because obviously, you're going to have an answer for those that would be suitable, but because those are common questions, or are you trying to interview me? Regardless, let's get to the more important questions. Have you ever legally died? Yes, this is important. Yes, you have to answer this. No. Okay, that's good. Now, would you describe yourself as particularly weak minded, susceptible to persuasion, possession, um, a hammer to the back of your cranium as well? Uh, just mentally, physically, spiritually weak minded in any sort of way? No. Now, if a golden retriever were to come up to you and it was thundering outside and you're in your bedroom and it's standing in the corner and it starts speaking out, uh, and it says your date of birth, your social security number, all the residencies you have lived at in your lifetime, in chronological order, and a date that you can only assume to be the day you die, because it's sometime off in the future. What would you do? It doesn't do anything after it. No, just says all that. Hmm. It's around midnight, and it is a thunderstorm as well. That's just extra information. Thought you'd like to know. Like, and how would you react? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. If a man in a trench coat offered you to look at his special product, would you take the offer? Yeah, yeah. It happens a lot, honestly, when you're looking into weird creatures and cryptids. There are a lot of strange men who will offer you to look at their special product. Now that I think about it, it happens also a lot in life, not just in this particular practice. It's always good to be and stay safe. If you were walking in the woods on a hike for a period of time, in which case you know that it would be nighttime, either at the beginning or the end, or the middle, how would you prepare for the nighttime? I should preface this. No, you can't just camp. You are going to be walking through at night. Mm-hmm. Now that's interesting. Why would you bring that? A no-brainer. I see. I see. Now what if you did have no brain? Well, it's a question to ask. Side question alongside that. What if you were approached by a man who looked relatively healthy, looked very human, didn't have any indications that he might be some creature, not like a vampire or zombie, didn't look like that, but he asked you if he could take a look at your brain? What would you assume he is? Well, but he doesn't look like a zombie. Maybe he could be a neurosurgeon. You don't know. It is a weird question. Most people don't do that, but have you ever met a neurosurgeon? I don't think so. Those are things you gotta think about. Well, yes, of course they're gonna be all very weird questions, but they are essential. No, you won't need to worry about that. I will, and trust me, I worry about a lot of things. But it's my job to worry. So, back to the questions. If, and let's go back to the one about you going on a hike. If you saw a raccoon or some small critter in this hiking area, and you know that that area does not have that small critter, that raccoon, if you will, native to that region, what is your first thought? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Invasive species, right? Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. What if you saw a deer? It looked like an ordinary deer, you know. Then it turned to you, started speaking in Latin. Would you be able to decipher what he said? That's good to hear. That's good to hear. you have to know Latin. What kind of organization would we be if we didn't require that you know Latin? So much of all the creatures that we have to deal with, many of the more ancient ones, they speak some ancient language. But for some odd reason, so many of them speak Latin. I think I know why, but that's a story for another day. But no, yeah, you have to. Especially if you're going to deal with the paranormal. But regardless. Oh, that's a good question. I mean, really, you shouldn't be asking questions. I'm not bothered. I like the questions. But, yeah, for other countries or other sectors or specific sort of incidents of paranormal to where we know that the language they're speaking is not Latin, we just get a specialist in or a local member of our organization. Well, yeah, that's just kind of how it works. But other than that, you just have to be well acquainted with the language of the region or the ancient language of the region. Say you're in like Iraq, you might have to know Arabic and Sumerian and a lot more, actually. Oh, yeah. A lot of these places have some deep history. United States, we try in many local areas the best we can with the knowledge we have of the native languages that are here. But, years of colonialism and the countless deaths of native people and languages, some things are just going to get lost. Particularly languages. Very unfortunate. Not as unfortunate as the loss of life, but just means if we get into an incident to where we're trying to communicate with a ghost or a spirit of some sort, it's going to be difficult to do. If they don't understand us, they don't understand us. Yes, especially on the eastern seaboard, it's a lot worse here. Regardless, back to the questions. If I, right now, were to get possessed by a ghost, what would you do? Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, yeah. What if this entire room was haunted by a poltergeist? What would you do then? Yeah. Now, this one's gonna sound a little strange, but bear in mind, it's a question we have to ask because we've gotten and lost too many employees to it. There were some good employees. But how likely are you to fall in love and want to start a beautiful, like, middle class suburban family with any of the creatures? And if you were to rank them in order of likelihood that you do such action, what would be your number one creature? I know, but people have answers. And people have tried to do things that are very similar to what I described. And a lot more than what I described. But people have answers. A lot of people say vampires, actually. um, a lot of people don't realize vampires are very particular about who they want to start families with, quote unquote. Oh, I'm using the euphemism because I just don't feel like it's appropriate to talk about some of the stuff that other employees have described to me in the presence of a possible new future employee and in a professional environment. Look, it's fine if you want to talk about those profane actions that you would do to a vampire or a zombie or a ghost or a Sasquatch or a Kraken or like whatever creature you can think of in, close proximity with your closer co-workers. But honestly, sometimes it's strange to hear just someone say the most outlandish thing. It didn't say they do it to a slime or a gargoyle or chupacabra of all things. A goat sucker? I've just heard way too many things about. So it is, and a lot of people in the company have heard way too many things about it. So it's something we have to ask about. Because, and as I mentioned, we have lost a lot of employees. So many people have tried to fornicate with a Yeti and have died. It's unbelievable. And I say specifically Yeti because, sure, vampires are fairly humanoid. And you have a lot of the half human, half animal type creatures like a centaur or a naga or a mermaid. And I could understand. Or you have your fae, your nymphs, these somewhat humanoid looking creatures. But then you have this giant, almost ape-like frost beast. People just lose their mind. Like, what makes you think that's a good idea? Well, I don't mean you. I actually... Sorry, I go on diatribes about this. Just as a manager of safety, it does not help. It really does not help. But, sorry. I might have spoken over you. I went into a diatribe, so please, if you will, repeat your answer for me. Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Well, uh, seems like there's only a couple more questions here. Uh, Let me see. Which ones would be the best? How well do you do on the ocean? Do you get the particular urge to go in it and swim? Or do you have thalassophobia? Do you have some mechanophobia? If you saw a giant underwater city that you could only describe as being made up of non-Euclidean geometry, how do you feel about being asked to explore such a city? Uh huh. Uh huh. If you were tasked with investigating a doomsday cult, how likely do you feel you would be to join said cult? How do you feel about assassinating political figures? Alright, alright. How do you feel about becoming and registering yourself as legally dead? If needed, if needed. Would you be willing to renounce your citizenship? Yeah, you're right. That last one was a trick question. No, there's no, there's no reason you would have to renounce your citizenship. I mean, unless your political leader were to join a doomsday cult that wish to bring about the end of humanity, but what politician would do that? Yeah, yeah. No, I'm joking. We keep close eye on most organizations that could be able to bring out about any doomsday. Uh, if how do you feel about visiting abandoned buildings? Do you ever get a sense that you are not yourself? If you were to walk into a room, how likely are you to forget why you walked in there? Uh huh. Uh huh. If you were to walk into a room and then walk back out, and it was a different room than the room you had initially exited from to go into that room, what would you begin to do? Uh huh. Uh huh. Now, this one's. What do you have to think about? If a time demon asked you or gave you the ability to go back in time and undo one event, what event would you undo, and how would you undo it? Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, if you were to hear scraping inside your walls and a little of what you could guess to be a goblin or a gremlin, and you could tell it's right next to you, how thin are your walls? Alright, alright. So you wouldn't be able to punch through. Or maybe you would. It really depends on how strong you are. What would you do about that goblin right next to you? Yo, it's making a lot of noise. A lot of goblin-y noises. Or maybe it's a lot of gremlin-y noises. Could be. Could be. Let's go. So, what do you do? Pest control. Good answer. Good answer. Alright. I think that is enough for you today. I know there are some weird questions, but I mean, it's kind of a weird job you're applying to. So definitely will consider you for the position. I think you did very well. Especially with a lot of your answers, and you showed off a lot of very knowledgeable assertions today. Well, I hope you have a good day and night, and I will hope to see you in the future. Oh, when am I going to get back to you with this information? You'll find out soon enough. Trust me, you will. You'll know when you'll find out. I think you have good odds. I'll put in all the answers. I have to discuss this over with a couple of my colleagues. And it's certainly going to be debated about, but, I think you have a good shot. I can't disclose how good, but, just go on, be hopeful. And as I said, have a good day and night. Hopefully no bed bugs bite or crawl underneath your skin. That'd be terrible. I don't even know why that would happen. Yeah, you can go. Feel free to get a lollipop on the way out. Yeah, of course we have them. We'll see ya, hopefully.